Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the PB Political Podcast. I'm Eshan Pokhrel.
My name's Cameron Cummings.
And we are here with episode 77, and most importantly, another episode back in the basement.
Basement podcast.
After a whole year, we are back. And we're back here today. We put a little questionnaire out on our stories on Instagram about what you guys wanted to hear about today. And today we've decided to take the three most popular choices: the Israel-Palestine campus protests, the state of housing in the United States, and the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. So we're going to talk about
these correlate in the slightest.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all three of these, and it's going to be great. And just before we start, I guess, how was your semester, Cameron?
Oh man, I had a great semester. I love my major so much. I love programming. I love cybersecurity. The TAs, leave much to be desired. Teachers, much better. Really enjoyed my teachers. But the TAs leave much to be desired. AKA, they did nothing.
Yeah.
But
they're
complained.
very hit or miss, yeah.
And not put in grades at all until the very last second.
Yeah, well. What
about you, Eshan? How's the UAB life treating you?
It's good. Economics is a good degree. If you guys are considering doing economics in college, I highly recommend. Good professors, and I started my master's as well this semester, so that's good.
You started your master's?
Yeah, I started my MBA. We have like a dual program, so that's the one benefit of going to UAB.
You trying to make me feel stupid?
Maybe, but one thing that made me feel stupid because I didn't know what was going on was the protests on campuses. We didn't actually have any protests at UAB, and I don't know if you guys had any at State. But
we didn't have any at State. The closest one to us was Ole Miss, which we'll talk about, which kind of devolved pretty quickly. But we'll start with Columbia.
Go ahead and get into it. Yeah.
Sure. So students at a lot of Ivy Leagues, especially, have popped up. Not as many as the UAB's, Mississippi State campuses, but Columbia did establish an encampment on campus where they had they were doing songs. They had food, other things they were passing out, as well as information. And the primary goal of Columbia was divesting from Israel. And we're gonna pass this off to Eshan, to talk a little bit about what divesting is. Going to try to put that economics degree to use.
Yeah. So divestment in universities itself. Because I didn't put this on the document itself, so Cameron doesn't know the definition, I guess.
I do know the definition, but you can give more information on it.
All right. Essentially, divestment is just when you sell investments in the university endowment portfolio. So basically how a university gets their wealth. Like Columbia, for example, has $13.6 billion in its endowment. That means that the school has investments. It's in a portfolio that's worth that much. Divestment is when you sell a certain sector's assets. In this case, that could be selling energy stocks or selling.
And how would they
stocks.
get investments in Israel?
So actually, I think what the Columbia protests themselves have talked about is not necessarily companies that are in Israel. It's more of companies that have. So this is why it gets a little controversial for people. And if I'm wrong, comments correct me. But I believe it's talking about companies that have high stakes in Israel themselves. So companies like Amazon, companies like Starbucks that have high.
So they don't want to divest from Israel. They want to divest from the countries that have association with Israel.
Yeah, they don't have necessarily because Israeli stocks aren't huge necessarily in the United States. Obviously, a lot of the defense capacity of Israel is tied up in American companies like Lockheed Martin and stuff. So I guess divesting from those companies is the hope, and obviously. Companies like Lockheed Martin, like Amazon, have large growth potential and don't really fall over time, which for a defense company like Lockheed Martin is a little concerning if you have a defense stock growing all the time. But regardless, that was more of the goal of the protest. It's a little confusing because divestment there's a lot of tricky ways you can take it, right? There's a lot of things you can divest from, but from what I understand, that was the primary goal. And if anybody has a correction, feel free to put it in the comments.
Okay. So it really kicked off on April 29th. So close, probably about 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, 3 weeks now.
Students occupied Hamilton Hall. And Hamilton Hall has a big, I guess the reason we said this is because it was previously occupied by students in the infamous 1968 Vietnam War protest. Then on April 30th, the NYPD was sent to Columbia University to dispatch the protest. And that kind of didn't go the best way. Several students and faculty were injured. as well as many arrested. We don't have the exact number, but I know it's out there. But it was definitely in the dozens of that were arrested as well as injured, coming to be that total. And notably, faculty were against the administration's decisions to request the NYPD. It wasn't just students, but also faculty and administrators were also injured in those protests and were participating in the protests.
Yeah. And I know one thing, like faculty was, I remember seeing a letter that like the faculty, I guess, government put out, the faculty like administration, like the Senate or whatever. They put out saying that any like NYPD request from the president or the administration of Columbia has to be approved by faculty, and this wasn't. So that was like a large part of them disapproving with what happened, is because they actually didn't feel like their voice was recognized in the process.
So also another big thing that came out of that was commencement for Columbia was canceled, as well as I want to say it was either USC or UCLA, and if not both of them, both of their graduations were completely cut out.
A lot of them have been canceled, and I wonder if this is because I think this has just been canceled because obviously Columbia is famous for having the name of Robert Kraft. The owner of the New England Patriots. I don't know. Is he part of the Kraft? He must be part of the Kraft.
He is.
So he has a big building. He's a big donor to the school. And he pulled out of donating to Columbia because of these protests. He is Jewish. And he felt that he wanted to pull out of donating. So honestly, in my opinion, I'm not sure. I think more than anything, because you've seen campuses and graduations across the country been disrupted by peaceful protesting or like demonstrations.
A lot of them have been like the people that didn't cancel graduation or postponed it, or some went online, which is tough for them.
Yeah, I feel bad for the
they had like walkouts.
Yeah, exactly.
I think what was it, Duke?
Duke, yeah.
They had a big walkout when Jerry Seinfeld came on.
Yeah, Duke had a big walkout.
Ohio State had a big one.
Yeah, exactly. So like I
Michigan
think that's,
did a lot. Most major schools had massive walkouts during graduation.
I think that's more of the reason why they canceled. They probably didn't want anything after the Kraft thing, after he withdrew the funding and all that. They didn't want more trouble for their big donor base more than anything. I do think this sucks for the students though that are graduating. That had nothing to do with anything going on. They're just trying to get their degree. It's unfortunate they're not going to be able to walk at a school like Columbia, which is still one of the best schools in the world. But yeah, I mean, that's like the setup. We're just doing a little setup here. On the other side, we have UT Austin, which is Texas Austin. Just a little, it's kind of funny just because like you can look at Columbia, which had a huge protest. Texas Austin, there's protests there. This is a little bit more governmental. The governor of Texas, and UT Austin is the flagship, the main campus, like the main school in Texas. So like you have the University of Alabama, that's the flagship for Alabama. UT Austin is Texas's. And also one of the best schools in the country too, I would say. UT Austin is up there, believe it or not.
I don't know where you pulled that one from. I don't know what chart you're looking at to pull that. You said best school in the world? Okay.
No, in the country,
best school in Texas.
In the country, it's up there. Regardless, it's a big school, obviously massive school, and Governor Greg Abbott of Texas has kind of come under fire across the internet because from this Texas Tribune article, there's a quote that he tweeted this. He said, "Some colleges are banning free speech on college campuses. Well, no more, because I'm about to sign a law that protects free speech on college campuses in Texas." He said this in 2019. Fast forward to 2024, protests in Austin about the Israel-Palestine war. You have Governor Abbott deploying the Texas Department of Public Safety,
which is basically like the National Guard of Texas.
Yeah, like a state police force to crack down on the protests. This one also went really viral. Arrests, a lot of physical violence, professors, teachers, or same thing, professors, students, everything. And then so it's just like a little hypocrisy, I guess, from Texas. Texas, obviously, people kind of meme Texas for being like the most free state.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't know if it's a meme, but like clearly Governor Abbott, this is because, again, the thing is, like, and for me, like, these have been fairly peaceful protests. There haven't been a lot of incidents. Columbia is probably the best incident you can see where there's been, like, real property damage in that they broke into the Hamilton Hall. Mm-hmm. They occupied it, which, I mean, occupying it is, like, whatever. But breaking in, obviously, property damage. There's a legal line there. It didn't seem like there was anything going on in Austin, but you had Governor Abbott bring in the public safety department, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. that's just another example, I guess, of what's
And
going
another
on.
one was, I mean, they're really popping up everywhere.
They're
UNC's
everywhere, yeah.
another big one. I know they had a big story.
Yeah, with the
frat guys,
Yeah.
they held up the American flag, and these people were like, "Throw these guys a rager," and now they have like $300,000 or something.
Yeah, and I think the UNC is interesting because like
That one was interesting. I don't know.
The protesters trying to take down the American flag was a massive mistake. I don't know who you're going to get on your side if the only scenes you see are the fact that people protesting, whatever the protesters are, trying to take down the American flag. Like that's like a horrible image to try to get anybody on your side with. So shout out to the frat guys who got like probably the best party at UNC history outside.
But
of
it's still
season.
UNC, so I mean, like how big are we gonna talk?
Yeah, any UNC. I don't know. Do we know anybody at UNC? I'll have to ask them.
I do actually.
We'll have to ask them. We'll have to see. And then Mississippi, Ole Miss. You want to go?
Oh, okay, yeah. The closest one that I knew of was Ole Miss. They had a really big one, and that one dived like I would say like went downhill really quickly. It was peaceful. I don't think there was any property damage, least that I know of, that was reported from what I looked into. And it was close to Fraternity Row where it was, so a lot of the fraternity, Phi Delta Theta is the full name, but Phi Delta ended up becoming a big name, said, because some of their could have been pledges for all I know, active members were making like monkey noises at a black woman that was out there protesting, and they came out there with their American flag jumpsuits and stuff, which cool, counter protest, whatever. I don't really see the point in it. It's just two sides clashing for no reason. But they felt justified in it, whether they were or not really. And a lot of them have been suspended on academic probation, kicked out of the fraternities, and overall giving their school a really, really bad look. People online are siding with them, saying like, oh, they're doing the right thing. But really, the people that were protesting on campus in the first place were doing nothing wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's been like the weird line.
Yeah, that's the weird line of people like, oh, they're protesting this and they're not in the right. Well, they're not. If they were breaking into fraternity houses, different story. They just happened to be next to Fraternity Row, which was where the protest was. Yeah. And a lot of representatives for the state of Mississippi were saying like, we're supporting it, saying like, what these guys did were right.
Not even that. Also, Georgia Congressman Mike Collins, who's he's kind of, if you guys are on Twitter, Mike Collins always like his Twitter team puts like memes and stuff out there. He's always kind of getting headlines just like during big events in Congress. I don't know why he was involved. He tweeted Ole Miss taking care of business with the video of the guy doing the monkey noises and stuff. Very odd. I don't know why he's getting involved. I don't think he went to Ole Miss. He's from Georgia. I think Georgia's 10th congressional district. Mike Collins, he had a little bit of a shocker there. He released a statement saying that he does not tolerate any form of discrimination, but he firmly believes in the right to free speech and in the First Amendment. So it tries to.
But what they were doing was actively.
Yeah, it was actively
hindering
racist,
the other sides.
I agree. I don't know what he's saying. I don't know why he even got involved. And obviously people have been involved with all of this. Like politicians like Governor Tate Reeves also came and said this warms his heart. Just like
which was one that like I think. I don't know. That was one of the ones. Besides, I remember him. I didn't know he was from Georgia. I thought he was from.
Nice from Georgia. Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
what were
so
you
random,
doing?
right?
Whatever. Yeah. But Tate Reeves, who actually had who did he run? Presley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm blanking on his first name. Only thing I was talking about Brandon. Thank you. All I could think was Elvis. Who actually Tate Reeves had a very close race with. He won my county. Well, I mean, I'm saying my county, but I'm not even registered to vote there. He won Oktibbeha County and several other like surrounding ones, and barely, I wouldn't say barely, but it was much closer than people. Closer than people even assumed that Brandon Presley would even get close to, making Tate Reeves sweat, and now he turns around, and does something like that, which I think is crazy.
So I guess personally, what do you think about the protest? I think it's ridiculous that any protest has been, and it's kind of weird because like everyone says they're pro First Amendment, and then they say, oh, except hate speech.
And I wouldn't even say it's hate speech.
Yeah.
There's a fine line when it gets to hate speech, and I don't think it's gotten to that line at all.
Yeah, I think that, like, I mean, even hate speech is protected too. You shouldn't be, probably. I would advise people not to be. You can be anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, whatever. You're allowed. That's the whole point of the First Amendment. So, like,
but just because you have the right to free speech doesn't mean you don't have the right to consequences.
Well,
like, you can say that, but like you're not going to get away with it.
I mean, you'll be tarred or whatever, like, by the media or whatever. But, like, the fact that people saying whatever that they believe Palestine should be for, whatever they're saying, leads to national or like police coming in and all this is absolutely insane. It's ridiculous. Like, people protesting on college campus leading to the NYPD coming in is madness to me.
I don't even see like a point in it. I mean, I see a point in the protest, obviously, like that. Protests have been going on since America's been founded, but how they're jumping from like escalating it to like you will be kicked off campus is one thing. Yeah. It's like, hey, leave within these few days, or you're going to be removed from campus. To we just released the Texas National Guard on you. It's insane. So like tear gas you off like the main quad. I think is like a crazy jump.
It's insane. The devotion to Israel that these politicians have is crazy because
they wouldn't do the same for us.
You're circumnavigating the First Amendment of the Constitution to support a foreign country that, if this shoe was on the other foot, like we were talking about earlier, they would not most likely come in and help us. Yeah.
Most likely, I would bet the $5 I have in my bank account, which is my last $5, which I'll probably go spend on a 4-for-4 when I leave, that they would not help us. They would give us like $10.
It's ridiculous.
And a pat on the back.
It's sad that this is the devotion that our leaders have. And I think people like in the U.S., like, there's a pretty popular. It's kind of getting close to a point where people are like done with Israel in the sense that they are doing a lot of things that they probably shouldn't be doing in Palestine or in Gaza. I guess it's Gaza, in Palestine, whatever, in Gaza, Palestine, whatever it is. And people are starting to kind of turn around. The public opinion is starting to like go towards Palestine in this sense.
And another thing
is it's getting excessive.
People are like, I'm not saying they're finding out because politicians have been like bought off, quote unquote, for years. Yeah. And I thought personally, like, oh man, like they're getting paid like millions of dollars off. No, like what is it? It's like the Israel
AIPAC.
AIPAC, thank you.
Shout out to AIPAC.
Yeah, AIPAC they are buying people off for $10,000. It's insane. You're getting bought off for a beat up Prius.
Yeah,
a 2015 beat up Prius.
Yeah,
you're selling your country for it.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. Not even like a house in the hills. I wouldn't be okay with that, but at least like I'll let it slide. But you're selling out your country for generations, ruining it. Not when ruining is pushing it, but you're getting there for a 2015 used Prius. No.
I want to take this time to shout out Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky's 4th. He's a Republican in Congress. He's the only member of Congress to be consistent on criticizing Israel, I guess, and criticizing politicians that have basically flipped allegiance.
Yeah.
On this particular issue. You saw politicians flip allegiance on Ukraine as well. That was more Democrats. This one's been more Republicans. You're kind of seeing the lines where they fall. But Thomas Massie's been critical of all of this. He's been very pro-free speech on campuses and any whatever speech that is, like whether it's pro-Palestine or pro-Israel or whatever it is, it should be allowed on campus, and he's been very consistent with that. So if you guys want a good, I would say level-headed voice, I think Thomas Massie is the way to go in Congress. There's not a lot of them in Congress, but I think he's the best one right now. It's kind of crazy that it's just madness that's even like the fact that protesting anything is even like when it's been peaceful. It's been very peaceful. There's been very, very well documented like Jewish students being in these protests with Arab students or whoever's in this in the protests. So it's not like a malicious thing. Right?
No.
So it's kind of crazy that this is where we've gotten to, but we wanted to cover this because like we know it was a very popular ask in the questionnaire thing we did. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of lay it out and just give our 2 cents, and we'll see y'all in the housing section. All right, and now we're going to talk about the housing crisis in the United States. This is actually kind of popular too. Shout out to everybody that submitted this because this is something that I think no one talks about, at least not on a level to where it's like people don't really understand what's going on with the housing, what's coming and what's going on right now with the housing crisis. Yeah, so off the bat, just we're gonna like put some numbers out there to start. Housing is at like all-time levels of unaffordability, I guess. The average price for a house sold in the first quarter of 2024, so January to March, was $513 and $513,100. Sorry, so that's a increase of $130,100 from the first quarter of 2020, right before COVID, and then to complement that even better, you have a 30-year fixed mortgage rate. So the price you pay on the house for 30 years, right? Because you don't obviously buy the house up front. Right now, it's 6.75%. In the first quarter of 2020, it was 3.52%. So it's almost doubled in this time. So those are the two biggest top line numbers that have kind of explained why housing has been off the rails and why people that buy a house right now are paying. First, most people can't buy a house. Like, it's not even like a thought, unfortunately, and why.
That's why most people are stuck renting.
Exactly.
And like as their rent continues to go up. I wish we could find these numbers, but just an estimate from like an average, 1 to 2 bedroom apartment is like $1,500.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, and that's why like housing and I guess before, if you look at really any time in American history before maybe 2008 and maybe a little bit after, it was pretty quote unquote easy to buy a house. Like it was very attainable to buy a house.
You could buy a house off a dual income family.
With your career, exactly, yeah. So that was very attainable. Right now, it is not. This is the first time that housing has become inaffordable to the majority of the American public. So yeah, I mean, like, obviously, this is something that I think, we're both Gen Z people, young voters are kind of starting to clue into housing as an issue. The pricing increase and the lack of legislative want to fix this, at least of recent, has been very concerning. And that's actually, I would attribute this to kind of the reason why there's a lot of dissatisfaction and apathy among not just us, but also millennials, just the generation above us that have that are already facing these problems that aren't where we are in college, but that are already in the market
and have been trying to get a job, and they've been getting pushed and kicked down at every step. So they're kind of just what can I do?
Exactly. Yeah. So
base.
Yeah. So let's kind of explain.
Sure. So basically, companies, very big investment companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, Blackstone, that have invested in huge, all they do is invest in things. They've gotten into buying single family homes and renting them out because they realize they can make a huge profit with that. So they'll go with all cash offers. Let's say a house is $200,000 on the market. The most you and your, let's say you and your spouse trying to buy it, you can put $220,000, but you'd have to pay that 30-year mortgage. BlackRock, Vanguard, all these other Blackstone, they'll come out and they'll give you $250,000 to $300,000.
Yeah, or
all cash.
Yeah, all cash.
Right? All cash. They'll say $300,000. If the most you can pay is $220,000, they'll pay $280,000. Yeah. All cash. And they'll buy that house up front.
You're done, yeah.
And that decreases the amount of families compete in the marketplace. Who else can go out and spend $80,000 to $100,000 over asking price straight cash without batting?
No one could. Yeah,
that's just not attainable.
And they're not just doing this to one house. This is happening across
neighborhoods.
The economy. Neighborhoods, yeah. There's actually neighborhoods that are just filled with that are corporate owned. And then you have these companies renting them out. So not only are you decreasing your supply, because houses are still being built and everything, construction is still fairly high. I think housing construction is still relatively high across the U.S. as far as I'm aware. But when you have issues like this coming in, you're just creating a place where the housing supply is going unused in a sense, because the buyers are not actually using them, so they're renting them out, right? And because of the rent, they're all renting them, so not only, I guess you can put it economically, but also, socially, if you're renting a house and you're in a neighborhood, you're probably less likely to be involved with that community.
Yeah, because you don't feel like you need to be. You feel like I'm only going to be here for a short time.
Exactly.
So you don't interact with neighbors or try to get involved with community events, which leaves to whole neighborhoods of I wouldn't say isolation,
but
because you're still going to interact with your neighbors, but you don't.
But it's different.
You're losing the sense of community that you have.
Yeah, because you're not necessarily gonna be there for the long run. Our neighbors, we know our neighbors, like, because they live here, like, it's like a different, like, if you're like moving house to house,
you don't really need, you have the need to get to know your neighbors.
Exactly.
And try to build a community within that.
Yeah, so that's like that with a lot of other problems. There hasn't been much conversation about this at the national level. I know that independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy, RFK Jr., has talked about housing a little bit, but the problem is, I guess, like, as a political issue, if you're, and this is actually like a really sad fact, if you're looking at running for president, your core demographic you're appealing to are like 50 to 65-year-olds or older. Mm-hmm. So they have houses.
They've been had houses, and if not,
they're the ones that are actually
they've had houses, and then probably have a lake house that they go to for the summer.
They're the ones that are creating these issues because they won't sell their houses. It's like it's.
But the thing is, even I feel like a lot of people say like they won't sell their houses, and I feel like that's different from like older people that are like, oh, they're not leaving their jobs. I feel like that's a different level. Like older people not leaving their jobs is one thing. So all the higher up positions are held by older people. But let's say this older person's had their house since the 60s and they sell it. All BlackRock's gonna do, if the house is worth $300, they're gonna swoop in for $380. So even if they do sell their house, it's really not gonna make a difference unless they sell their house to a family member or someone they know. Exactly. But if they put it on the market, probably just gonna get
there's also low rates of boomers and stuff selling houses in general. So like that's also an issue. But regardless, they're the ones that vote. So then you have a problem where if you're running for a position like president, you're not appealing to the younger voter that has this issue. You're appealing to the older voter that doesn't have this as their issue, that has like a social security or like another, or maybe a foreign policy issue or whatever it is. So then you housing kind of becomes a lost issue at the level where it's like reaching the national stages. Mm-hmm. I will say RFK Jr. has talked about it a lot. I think that's somewhat of a reason why he has such big youth numbers. He's hugely supported and relatively, I think he wins.
And he's close to being in the debate, isn't he?
Yeah, they just announced the two debates. He could be on the stage. We don't know yet. The Biden campaign actually tried to, in the conditions, tried to exclude third-party candidates. Mm-hmm. CNN did not go along with that as far as I'm aware. He could be on the ballot, but we don't know yet. Or he could be on the stage. It doesn't look like the other third-party candidates will be on the stage because they won't reach the polling thresholds, but RFK Jr. is a couple of polls away. But that would be good because if the topic of housing came up at the debate stage, if that was something that was possible because of his inclusion, or if President Biden and President Trump, which from what I understand, have not really talked about the issue at all. President Biden's campaign, I mean, it looks like the Democrats are in a campaign on abortion, and
praying that their candidate doesn't die 2 years as he gets in office.
It's just abortion, really, for the Democrats. And then Trump's over here on a revenge tour. He's talking a little bit more economically, but not really in a sense that speaks to younger voters. And I think that's why you see a pretty high favorability for people like Jill Stein, Cornel West, RFK Jr., and then whoever the Libertarian will be. We'll probably all end up getting at least 15% of the vote total, maybe in this election, you could say. Mm-hmm. Maybe more, maybe less, but that's where we are with housing, so that's not good. On some good news, state legislators have started to recognize this as an issue, and I think this is for the better because I think most legislation that really impacts people goes through a state. So I know that you said California is a state that's looking at this. I know North Carolina is another one. The broad idea on combating corporate home ownership, I guess, is just basically taxing. So like, saying like, okay, a company can own one house, sure, but once you get past once you buy a second house or more, this will be taxed so much that it won't be profitable to have a house, to have these extra homes.
Which is a step in the right direction. I don't know how much it's going to really affect it, because obviously they're going to find a loophole around it with all the shell companies that they have. Yeah, but it is a step in the right direction to go. At least they're trying to do something about it.
In the optimistic lens, this would mean that like they'd have to sell these houses because there wouldn't be any point in having them, and that would make it easier for people that are just getting into the market to, one, buy a house, but also this would also decrease the price of houses because more would be up in the market, right? So these things, this could be a big thing to watch, and we're keeping a close eye on this. Like, again, states like North Carolina, states like, I think Georgia was looking at it too. A lot of states that actually, if you look at like population trends and migration trends, have had big economic booms and population booms. North Carolina is obviously huge. Georgia's another one. A lot of the Sun Belt, Arizona could be another one, I believe, that's looking at it. California is looking at it too, and California is actually kind of going the other way. So maybe they're trying to get people back. Who knows? But
because a lot of people are leaving. Well, a lot of people that are saying like people are like leaving from California. I don't think that's true. I think it's the people that moved to California are leaving, but the people that like lived there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they have probably. I don't know. I mean, maybe makes sense. Honestly, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, this is the housing issue. The economy overall has not been great for a lot of people. I mean, the numbers can be. People can say there's like what 3 point. If you're within the target inflation rate, great, but no one feels that, right? People aren't feeling inflation because inflation's going down year over year, that doesn't mean it's going down. You're not having deflation. Prices are still going up on everything. It's going up slower. So that's why if inflation is confusing, it's because if you have inflation, you're still going up in prices. You're just going up slower. So like, if you have like a gallon of milk costs $2 this month and it costs $3 the next month, but then $3.50 the next month, that's still
inflation.
That's lower
it's
inflation.
Just slowing. It's just slowing. Oh my god, it's just slowing down. But still, the fact that the milk went from $2 to $3.50 is the issue in itself, not how fast it's getting there.
And that's where we are right now. And deflation is the only way to reverse that. Deflation is also very risky. It's not a policy that the American Federal Reserve will ever pursue. Argentina is probably the best model for what it could look like. They're not in deflation yet. They're at very decreasing levels of inflation. They went from 250% to I believe 48% last month with their new president. So yeah, that's why the market's crazy. If you're buying a house, if you're considering buying a house right now, just be careful, I guess you could say, right? I don't know, that's not financial advice, but
my financial advice is send all your money to me and I will invest it for you.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna start my own Ponzi scheme. I think that's the plan right now.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the housing update. We're gonna keep an eye on the state legislatures because that's where the real work could get done, especially in states around Alabama where we are right now, and around the South, which has been growing a lot in recent years.
Especially just like, I would say like especially in the South is like the South is expanding and more people coming there. The housing prices jumped. I would say even where we are in Huntsville, the prices have jumped at least double.
Yeah, it's crazy.
At least have gone up 50%, 100%. I mean, in the past 3 years, a house that could sell for $150 a few years ago now can be sold for $375.
Yeah, I mean,
and with no renovations to it, I think is insane.
$513,000 on average for a house is crazy. Because again, if you look at right before COVID, it was $383,000. That's about a 35% increase in the price just in 4 years. And COVID just threw everything out of whack for this country. And I think politically, it's kind of slowing down more politically, but like economically, it's going to be a slow climb. And I think it's not going to be good. I think housing was the most extreme version of that climb. But I think legislation that's coming out of the states will be helpful. And hopefully this section was a little bit helpful because we're going to get into some fun stuff. So we'll be back for the finale, the Kendrick.
The finale.
We'll be back. And here we go. The one that
Kendrick won. Let's not even play games. Kendrick versus Drake. Drake's likes little girls. Drake's on Ozempic. Drake's a deadbeat dad. Drake has at least 3 other kids. Drake still hasn't responded to Pusha T when he released, saying that Drake had a son. I'm just saying Drake's a bum.
All right, well,
his music hits, but he's a bum.
All right, well, we got this one the most. This was like actually like we were gonna talk.
Everyone about this. When I posted on my story, everyone was like, "Yo, man, just go ahead and talk about Drake and Kendrick." I was like, this is PB political. They're like,
so
talk about Drake and Kendrick.
We were gonna talk about this if we didn't get any ideas, but yeah, we had a lot of people slide up and say Drake versus Kendrick versus Drake, and yeah, I think the overwhelming consensus here is that Kendrick destroyed Drake.
I'm gonna be honest.
I thought
Kendrick was sitting in a dark room with no lights, with pen to paper, and he just had his finger hovering over the upload button on YouTube.
If you guys didn't watch RDC World skit,
oh my gosh,
that's what happened. Like that,
basically,
that's what happened. Like, because it was, I don't know. I mean, like, we probably haven't ever talked about. This is the first time we've talked about anything that's not political.
Yeah.
On our podcast, this is the start of PB culture.
Yeah, PB culture.
Yeah, no.
PB trolling.
This is what the game needed. This is what the country needed, really.
This is what I needed, I'm going to be honest. But also I realized that, people love to be like, oh, I love hating. No, you don't. That's kind of cringe. Because Kendrick blew all of us. I hate the way you walk. I hate the way you talk. I hate the way you say the N-word. I hate the way you look.
Dress.
I hate the way you dress. I hate the fact that you're from Toronto and grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. He
also said, like, what did he say? He said, he accused the whole OVO team for being fakers because they're not American. They imitate heritage, stuff like that. But that being said, Kendrick Lamar's newest diss, Not Like Us, not newest, I guess latest diss, is still number one. First, is this the second number one song on the Billboard? I think Humble was one.
Humble was one.
So his second solo number one. Not just that, his other diss, Euphoria, is in third. In between them is Tommy Richmond, $1 Million Baby.
I feel bad
Song
for
of the
him,
Summer, or what is that?
No, 100%.
Song
He dropped which a really nice song, and he's sitting there like watching two people argue. But his song's doing great.
He's getting a lot of love though. I think.
Great song. I listen to him on Brent Faiyaz's, what is it? Oh my gosh, he was on an album. I know the song is called Upset, but I can't remember the album. I'm blanking on it.
Shout out to Shabuzi too.
Who
bar
is that?
Song. He's a black country singer. Him and Darius Rucker holding it down.
Oh, hooray!
Yeah. It's a good song. It's gonna be in the clubs. I feel like all
nobody's gonna listen to country music.
It was number 2 or number 3 last week.
I have never heard that song. It was
3 last week.
But also, I try to refrain from listening to country music.
Right, that's on you. Regardless, also not just Euphoria and Not Like Us. Like That is number 6.
Is Meet the Graham still up there?
No, Family Matters is 7 though. So Kendrick Lamar has 3 disses, and the third one's not even his song. Has 3 disses in the top 6. Then Drake's in 7th. And then after that, Meet the Grams is in 12th.
See, but I wouldn't even think like Meet the Grams is like a song that you like just play and listen to.
That's what I'm saying. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's not like you just don't. You're not like, oh man, turn on that Meet the Grams, but Not Like Us.
Exactly. Yeah.
He has people crip walking to saying that Drake likes little girls, which I think is insane.
Now, okay, well we have to ask like.
Yes, he did it.
Yeah,
like, this man Drake said, "I didn't touch Millie Bobby Brown." Nobody said Millie Bobby Brown.
I think
we just said you like little girls.
I don't even know what does Drake do after this. Because let's all get this out of the way. The best diss track of all time was Eminem's diss track on Machine Gun Kelly. Because he made he made him switch genres. He hasn't rapped since then. He tried recently, but no one listened to that. So Eminem made Machine Gun Kelly.
I'm still gonna say Pusha T. He forced Drake to reveal the fact that he had a kid, and Drake never responded.
That's not bad.
What do you mean? You're hiding a kid.
I think it's
and
close.
You never respond. I'm saying Pusha T.
But like artistically, Machine Gun Kelly hasn't rapped since then. That was like when we were in high school, like freshman year.
That's also true. But also, you've never heard anyone in your life say, "Turn on that new Eminem."
I like him. I'm an Eminem fan. I don't know. I'm ready for the album.
You know the only person that's ever said, "Turn on that new Eminem"? My dad, and my dad is 50.
Okay, well, Eminem's also the best. Isn't he the best-selling artist of all time? Rapper.
I think.
So I mean, like, regardless, it doesn't matter. The point is, we want to do this because everything's been like boring or like gloomy recently.
Yes.
Right. So we want to talk a little bit of fun stuff. I think Kendrick. Do you think he's gonna drop an album or anything? It's been 2 years since yesterday. 2 years on the day yesterday since he dropped Mr. Morale. You think he's gonna drop anything? Is it gonna be like a diss track, 10 songs?
Probably.
10 diss tracks?
Here's the thing: people are saying that like MGM or Universal's getting involved to like shut it down because they're making Drake look bad.
I bet he's making Drake look bad.
Oh, 100%. And I don't know. I feel like what was Kendrick? Drake said Kendrick was a wife beater, and he's not active in his kid's life.
It seems like the first one was not even true because his is this his wife or his girlfriend?
Wife. Yeah, that's his wife.
Wife's brother was commenting under his like posts and stuff.
Yeah, saying like
supporting him. Yeah. So I feel like that might not be true unless it's all set up, which I mean that would be a little dark if it was.
Yeah, I mean like if I had like a sister, I don't think I'd support the guy that's like hitting on her. But you know, that's just me.
Yeah. I'm looking through this Billboard Top 100. All of this is Taylor Swift. Mostly everything in here is Taylor Swift. It's kind of wild, huh? Yeah. So that's the Kendrick. I just don't. It's over now.
Side note.
What's a side note?
Kanye West hopped in with Like That remix. That song was so good. But Kanye,
it's Kanye back.
I know for a fact you have skeletons in your closet.
It's Kanye back.
Kanye, you do crazy things on an hourly basis. Please shut up.
Is he back? What do you think?
Huh?
Is Kanye back?
Kanye is so back. I'm gonna be honest. Kanye he's never been gone. I don't care what you say. I'm gonna be 95 years old, playing for my grandkids, the college dropout, and be like, you haven't heard real music until you listen to like Through the Wire or Two Words with Mos Def. I mean, but I think it's funny how he was like, yo, Dot, I got you, and started rapping, which was good rapping. And then everyone ignored it.
Well, I think Kanye's having his own issues, and we pray for him, and we hope that he gets the
He's still never seen me my Yeezy pods, so I mean...
yeah, well, maybe we'll get Kanye on the podcast next week. He does some random stuff. Wouldn't that be fun?
I would love, if we could get... I'm going to reach out to Kanye.
Reach out to Kanye.
Okay.
Yeah, Kanye.
You think I'm joking?
That'd be great. I love that.
If Kanye got on the podcast, I don't think I would be the most insufferable man of all time.
Great.
I would never stop talking about it.
We have to do that. We have to go fly to LA or wherever he lives.
I would happily... I would fly to Alaska if Kanye's like, be here in a week.
Wyoming. He lives in Wyoming, doesn't he?
I don't know. I think he sold it. That was back when he was doing...
when he was like a normal person?
Hey, man. Hey,
yeah,
bring that up.
I'm looking at the number ones. Is there any other songs that have stood out to you this summer? I think $1 Million Baby. I think Hosier's new song, Too Sweet's pretty good, honestly. I love
Hosier.
Hosier's not bad.
Do I look like somebody that listens to Hosier?
No, but
okay then. So why would you?
Jack Harlow's back on for Lovin' on Me. Back on the chart. I know that. Stick Season's still on here. Get It. Oh man, Sexy Red's on the chart. Jesus.
Bro, what? How far are you going down?
I'm just looking down there's so much Taylor Swift on this. I don't know how many songs
Taylor Swift
releases
one album. An album every 6 months.
No, this is all like the same album. There's been like 30 songs.
Dude, she has like a 90-song album.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Maybe Taylor Swift will become the first artist to put her whole album on the... Well, not the whole album, but like the whole Billboard will be her. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think that's humanly possible.
No, I don't think it's possible, but if it would be anybody, it'd probably be her. Right.
I don't know. If Kendrick keeps dropping diss tracks, I think he could clear it.
It's true. All right, we're gonna end this, but hey, if you guys, we're gonna put in the poll. We should put up multiple polls. Who do you guys think won, Kendrick or Drake? Leave it in the poll on Spotify, or in the comments or whatever. I think there's comments now, but yeah, we want to do a little fun section to end this off. Thank you guys for sending in suggestions on what to talk about. I think we had pretty good discussions before we got into this one, but I think the campus protests and housing were two great ideas to talk about.
Give us more ideas, please.
Yeah, we're gonna put this up. Well, if we don't have anything planned, we're gonna go ahead and just put what should we talk about every week on Monday or Sunday, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about whatever y'all put in. So thank y'all for putting suggestions in. Keep listening. Tell your friends. Election time's coming up. We're gonna be covering it to the best of our abilities, and yeah. So thank y'all for listening. I'm Eshan Pokhrel.
I'm Cameron Cummings.
And goodbye.